Right. Okay. I think we're all here apart from Laura, but we'll get on to that. Okay, we're live streaming at 7 o'clock. Welcome everybody to the Haverhill Town Council. Oh, sorry, can you turn my phone off? Haverhill Town Council's Finance Working Party on the Tuesday the 12th of April, remembering any decisions we take have to be ratified by full council eventually. Apologies for absence, please, Colin.
I think we've got a full house, haven't we? I haven't heard from Aaron as the only person. Oh, and Laura, I haven't heard from either, but no.
Well, I don't know where Aaron is. Yeah, I did message him earlier on. He never answered.
He may join later, but no, I haven't actually had any apologies.
Message, that's for financing. Lovely, thank you. Any declarations of interest and requested dispensation? Sorry?
Councillor Lucarini is just arrived.
Okay, fine. Okay, lovely, thank you. I don't know what that is. Looks like a...
What's happened to him there?
I don't know. I've got a black...
He's jumped off the bridge.
It just reminds me of a film I saw once that did... Oh, there he is. Right, welcome, Councillor Lucarini. We're just on item 3, which is declarations of pecuniary interest and requests for dispensations from anybody. Can't see anything. Lovely, thank you. Minutes of the last meeting held on the 18th of January. If you've got them available, Colin. Everyone's read it. Can I have a proposer, please, from somebody? Councillor Liz Smith proposing. Anybody seconding? Anybody? Councillor Davison. Lovely. Can I have a show of hands initially, please? Lovely. Thank you very much. Item 5, which is action arising, I vaguely remember there's only 2 items, but they've both been done. If we go down the page for us, Colin. We've had the AGM, and Alicia did update the website. So, unless anybody's got anything else they want to comment on, we'll just skip right through to the bottom because I'm quite happy with the minutes. I think nobody's got anything. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks for that, Colin. Anybody waiting in the waiting room for public forum at all? No. Okay. All right. Moving on to item 7, the RFO report, which you've all had. It's over to you, Colin, to take it down. Just to before we start, I did, while I was in the Arts Centre this morning, I did reconcile the bank accounts with Martin Page. Thank you.
I'll share the screen so that people watching at home can see what numbers we're talking about. I was saying one of the things we need to do, Chair, is when we're setting the meetings for the finance meetings, we keep saying it and we do it and then we forget and don't do it, which is the finance committee is too early in the month. And this is a classic example that councillors are being presented with month 11 figures. It's taken Martin just as long as it ever would to produce all these figures, and I'm grateful for him to doing it. But I'm also acutely aware and embarrassed that having done all that work, month 11 figures are not necessarily particularly useful because we're effectively a week and a half away of being able to show month 12 figures for the actual outcome. So when we're setting the meetings dates at the May meeting coming up, if I fail to make sure that the finance committee meetings are all towards the end of the month, so that Martin has sufficient time between month-end closure and the meetings. The councillors are presented with useful data. That would be very good. And if I don't do it, then please pick me.
Yeah.
I think, Colin, I'll just say the date of the next meeting at the bottom of this agenda is the 19th of July, and that would be absolutely fine. To in that case prepare the June figures. So,
But if it was, even a week later, it gives you another week. Maybe
Yeah, I mean, at the end
it
of
will
the day,
clash with full council, maybe.
Well, it might well do, but certainly, I mean, we present month 11. I thank Martin for doing the work, but of course, it's a kind of like it's actually the kind of just before the punchline.
Yeah.
So it's useful insofar as that it tells us that we were heading to finish the year not a million miles from where we started. You'll see from my summary, and unfortunately with a PDF you can't do anything but flick the page. So basically it's this section up here. Within the finance figures, you've got Sustainable Haverhill, Heart of Haverhill, One Haverhill, and you've also got the kiosk. Now, this money is effectively coming out of ring-fence budgets, which aren't reflected in the income and expenditure lines. Hence the reason you get very one-sided figures with no budgets against them. But in fact, they are fully funded. So that the fact that when they're added into that final column, that variance column, that's showing that we are slightly, I mean, it's barely an overshoot. If you think 2,400 over budget when we are nearly £2 million in, is 0.1% of off. But actually, when you take the £32,000 away, it'll pull us back below our budget, so that's good. But then there will also be a little bit that will go to the community trust. So that's the kind of, if one of the swings, the other's roundabouts. So looking at it, we are going to be there or thereabouts at the end of the financial year.
I've got Councillor Hanlon. I saw a hand. Pat.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just on the previous slide, the kiosk. I've noticed there's £300 income. Has the kiosk been open then?
The kiosk was open last year.
Oh, so that's last year's figure, is it? Not last month.
It's due to open tomorrow, Councillor Hanlon.
Oh, right. Because I must admit, I've had lots of people asking me, and I've heard that it was open weekends and all sorts of rumours going around. So, is there any chance that we can, as councillors, someone could tell us by email when these open? Because and also the splash park as well, because people are asking me and I've got no idea, otherwise it's me emailing Colin, and then I just wonder if someone could email the councillors so we can sort of publicise it, really.
Okay, the decision to Councillor, to interrupt, the decision to open the kiosk was actually only made this afternoon. Because there's been a lot of work involved in getting it up and running. In fact, not all the equipment's running, and things like the till system and everything else. So but the splash pad, I think, was also open this afternoon, wasn't it, Colin?
No, not quite. So we announced the closure of the Arts Centre Cafe, but we deliberately didn't announce the opening of the kiosk because there's always unknowns. And what we didn't want to do was set a date which would have been entirely arbitrary, and then rush people to try and get that. Not least, our own chair of finance has been working very hard on the till systems and on the CCTV for the kiosk, at the same time as doing filming for the panto and all the other things he does around town. So what we said we'd do is Mel and her team would get in there and start being able to learn how to work the till, learn how to work the slushy machine, the coffee machine. Classic example is that the training to work the ice cream maker has been delayed, and I've been chasing the suppliers about that because I'm not very happy. But these things happen, and what we didn't want to do was to promise the people of Haverhill a date and not be able to fulfil it. So there will be an official opening of the kiosk, but there'll be effectively a soft opening in terms of the fact that the staff will open it tomorrow and be able to operate it, but they won't be able to operate it at full power. So, I mean, the example I gave to Mel and her team was that when they open it and they discover that they need a tea towel or a scrubbing brush or something like that, they can nip down to Thingamabobs and buy them. And we haven't got 16 councillors and 500 people all kind of shuffling their feet because it was a grand opening. So they can make sure that the kiosk is all up and running smoothly, and then we can do an official da-da, it's open. The splash pad, the signs on the splash pad say it's open from April, and that's deliberately vague because, of course, it depends on what the weather's like. And last week there was frost on the ground, and it was interesting that even the week before that we had some people saying, "Oh, how come I can't take little Johnny down to the splash pad?" Now they're sitting there in their jumper and coat, and they can put little Johnny into his thin swimsuit and have him run around in a freezing cold day with mains water. He's going to be in there for 5 seconds. We've tested the system's been summarised so that it's ready to run the whole summer. It was checked over today, and a power issue has been resolved. So the splash pad will be operational tomorrow because the kiosk will be operational tomorrow. And that's what we said, that we would have the kiosk there so that if anyone has an issue, they can tell the kiosk and the kiosk people can report it in. And they have had training on how to fix simple problems and check simple things with the splash pad. So that's basically the issue over the splash pad. It will be open tomorrow. We will close it again if the weather turns freezing cold again, because we don't want ice in the pipe work. We don't want ice on the ground when there's small children running around and there's metal work everywhere. So I'm sure you'll understand that.
Yeah, I fully understand, Colin, and thanks for that explanation. That was a very thorough explanation on my part. But please, when they're all settled, when they're all trained and what have you, can we have the official opening date, given to us as councillors, and then obviously we can put it around, and hopefully that, fingers crossed, that they will be able to cope. Hopefully, as I say, it's just that I've had so many questions, and it's I didn't want you to bombard you with emails, really, and that's why I brought
that's okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I certainly will undertake to make sure that is done. So, because none of them know how to work the soft ice cream machine, that needs to be got sorted as well. But they'll be able to open without you
and all that. I fully understand that. It must be, that does take a lot of training. Yeah. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. No, don't apologise. We're here to answer questions. So basically, we're reasonably happy with the figures. There's nothing particular to highlight from our point of view. If any councillors have any questions on the budget report summary, I'm happy to take those. otherwise we can shift on to the bank reconciliation.
Yeah. I don't see anybody, Colin.
Okay, so the balances are as before you. Obviously, this is at 28th of February 2022, so you'll see that there was £200,000 treasury bond that's matured. So we're absolutely fine in terms of the cash, the liquidity, and we should, in the next couple of weeks, get the precept arrive as well, and we will put that in the relative to anything else high interest rate bearing accounts, if you can call 0.05 high. So that's those, and thank you to Councillor Burns for confirming that he's checked that the bank balances do match.
Just a point of interest, Colin, on the interest rates on the 95-day account, that has now gone up from 0.05 to 0.1. So it makes a considerable difference.
I mean, our money. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that that's good news, and thank you for that, Martin. That's appreciated. Every little bit helps, but it does remain a very, very small amount of money. And I have to say, given that this is 95 notice account, I don't think that Lloyds are ever going to be accused of being over generous with their calculations on their interest rates. Just a bit on debtors and creditors, and looking at this, Martin is clearly doing a good job in keeping everything under control. If you look at what was owed on 28th of February, of course, that's pretty normal. Almost all of it is 30-day creditors, but there's £19.85 left over. There's a slightly peculiar figure, Martin. I don't want to put you on the spot, but it seems a strange figure.
It's just a summary. There's as you know, the line above that, there's payment on account of £788. So, and that's largely due to Tesco paying for their Christmas party, which didn't go ahead for COVID reasons. So they've paid in advance, and obviously they will have that party at some point. So actually, there's the figure is about just over £800 of debtors spread over people owing up to 30 days, and there's a couple of, at the other end of the scale over 90 days. So 1985 is actually a sort of an artificial number. That's the overall figure, but we do have, apart from the couple of payments on account, we do have debtors of about £800.
Are you concerned about any of them?
No, they're all. I've got a couple of notes here on my other sheets. I think, looking at them, they're all our regulars, really. What I have been doing and will continue to do is start to involve Lisa, the new administrator, more in helping me with debt collection. She's already started to do a lot of the invoicing, so the next stage will be her to try and involve her in help collect some of the debts. But no, looking at the list, they're all our regulars who I don't think we have any concerns over. It's the usual thing, the invoice going to someone who's perhaps not the person who pays the bill, so they just need a little nudge. So we need to get on to that. So, but no real concerns. There is one, actually, now I think of it, in the over 90 days one. I have tried to make contact with the people, but they're not responding. An organisation called Movianto, who held some interviews at the Art Centre in the back end of 2021. So I suppose I have concerns about that one, which I think it's £120. So I need to keep pushing on that one, but they're not responding at the moment. But all the others are our regulars who just need a little nudge to get their checkbooks out.
Yeah. Very small in the scheme of things, really.
Because I'll have a conversation with you, Martin, offline about what's been done and whether you can get onto the phone to them and actually talk to their accounts department if you've not done that yet.
No, so far it's just emails to the booker. The first time she was, I got her out of office, and I've actually tried again today, but I've had no response. So probably need to do a bit more.
They've moved in now and they're working, so because they're up by me.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have moved into their unit, so they've obviously done their recruitment and they are operating.
Okay, that's good to know. So,
do you know if they've recruited to their accounts payable department?
Yeah, well, but at least there's a physical place we can go and knock on a door if we need
absolutely. To. I wasn't aware that they were actually in Haverhill. I'd not heard of them before. So.
Councillor Liz Smith.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. I know, Martin, you gave me a figure a while ago of the money that had been fired across for the Mayor's charities.
Yeah.
I just wonder where that shows on the RFO report.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just check something, Liz, before I answer.
It's line 103, isn't it? Is that the one on the first page?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
103, showing actual income of 1397, which I was just checking back to my current report, and that is the same. I don't think it includes the monies that you've been recently collecting, because obviously this only goes up to February. But yeah, it's, as the chair says, it's line 103. Income 1397.
Okay.
Good one.
Thank you.
Good income considering.
Yeah, it's mainly from the Panto and other bits and pieces, and hopefully we'll get a bit more with the raffle and the next event.
Yeah. Well done. Colin?
Hey. I'll just make this a bit larger so people can read it. So Haverhill Community Trust figures. So you have the town hall figures, and the income is looking quite reasonable, and the more importantly, probably the expenditure is down. As I noticed, there's some figures in there that will correct themselves out a little bit on the income side of things. But yeah, we have managed to stay well within budget on the expenditure. Not surprisingly, the budgeted income for the Leiston hasn't been realised, but then, of course, thanks to the pandemic, we weren't actually allowed to have the Leiston Centre open for parties, and so we kept that closed. Expenditure-wise, we are underspent on quite a lot of the Leiston, but for obviously precisely the same reasons, because we weren't able to open. The law didn't allow that, so of course we didn't incur the expenditure. Sorry, did I see Councillor Smith's hand up? Oh, no, sorry,
Councillor Hanlon. Sorry, I was looking at Councillor Hanlon.
Again, Chair. The heat and light, obviously that doesn't include the new increase. But are you because they're sort of 50% is going up. Would that include you, or are you on a fixed rate? I can't remember now.
All the things about protection against massive price rises and caps and all the rest of it is for domestic supplies. None of it applies to commercial supplies. So that is going to be an issue. So it's a really good job that our tech team spent some of the lockdown replacing the lighting in our buildings to at least try and make sure we use as little light as possible. So obviously, as you correctly surmise, there's no increases attached to the costs here, but we can expect to see our costs increase very significantly as far as any heat and light. And of course, the inflation figures that we're looking at are likely to be reflected in some of the other costs as well.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Colin.
It's an interesting terminology, heat and light, isn't it? Because it's not just heat and light. I wonder whether it really should just say electricity and gas, if that's what we're using where we are with the Leyston, obviously not the zone.
Yeah, I mean, it does include the power to the sockets as well. Yes,
Yeah,
right.
That's what I was thinking.
Then we have Haverhill and Bloom.
Yeah.
And then the community groups, of course, do their own thing. And then we have the zone, which, of course, was also not operating for some of the year. So for what we've been able to operate, where we've been helped out enormously, you'll see from line 1503 that this figure here is figures which have helped us out on our rates and on other costs where COVID support for businesses that have been affected by the pandemic. That's come in and supported the zone enormously through the year, because whilst of course the income figure looks really very, very impressive, of course the grant is not to give you extra income, it's to help you with the expenditure against which we would have had no huge protection at all. So as you can see there, there was a lot of expenditure coming in, but still, because of course we were paying our staff and we had to repair things. The equipment line here, we have had a lot of issues with repair, maintenance, reactive on some of the building stuff as well. The landlord as well has also incurred significant costs. So this, in the particular maintenance reactive, I think that will be the cost we've had with the heating systems down there. But also we've had issues on the equipment side of things. Some of the electrical items have had to be replaced. So that's just unfortunate. It's relating to some of the items that came with the business when we took it over in 2019, which have now failed. So of course they weren't new to begin with. Volunteer Centre is really just reflecting on the fact, again, we've had lots of additional work around the Good Neighbours scheme, and then the Haverhill Community Kitchen at the end. And so the consolidated figures you can see there. So the zone, although we were helped out financially, that has helped. But of course, we haven't just suddenly at the end of the financial year, it's all going to just turn rosy. We've still got to build the clientele back up. But you can see that overall, we've managed to control things fairly well, so that the trust will end up in a reasonable position. There's some work down to the closure of heart seats, etc., which will feed in a little bit into the numbers that the Community Trust started the year on. But we will look at the grant from Haverhill Town Council to make sure that at year end the Community Trust finishes in the black, but doesn't find itself given too large a grant by the Town Council, which could undermine its potential for receiving third-party grants, where obviously they are looking to see what the general reserves are of a charity. So there's nothing to be gained for the people of Haverhill by us artificially inflating the coffers of the Community Trust by passing across the full budgeted grant. So Martin and I have been looking to try and make sure that lands smoothly. Councillor Hanlon has a question.
Yes, I was just going to get on to it. Councillor Hanlon.
Thank you again, Chair. The town hall part, obviously that includes the cafe. What percentage of that 17,000 included in the cafe in that cost?
Okay, just wonder whether that's. I don't think that it's really shown in those figures. Martin, where would we be looking for those numbers?
If we go back to the first slide, line 310, about 6 lines down on the town council, you've got line 310 is the bar and cafe.
What happened there?
Did I see 44,000, Chair?
Next line down, Colin. Yeah, 44,000, Councillor Hanlon.
So, I mean, effectively, what we would normally do, out of, I think, Martin, I'm correct, that out of line 101 administration, there would come £20,000 each for the cafe and bar.
Just looking at that now, see if I can find it, Colin. I know where you're coming from.
Basically, what the council does in the past is paid Heart Seats for
when
operating their cafe and bar in our arts centre.
We would invoice the town council for providing a theatre, bar and cafe to ensure that Heart Seats made a small profit.
I think it was 20,000 each, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what the budgeted figure was. But of course, because there's no Heart Seats in the 2021-22 budget, there's nobody to invoice. So what you're seeing there is the hole that is always there laid bare, because obviously what we're doing is just showing it on our accounts rather than showing it in the accounts of Heart Seats, and then the town council paying Heart Seats effectively the equivalent of this variance in order that Heart Seats finished okay. So it's that subsidy that has been basically removed because this is what the taxpayers paid in order to provide that much. So that's the income. That's what was paid by customers, and this kind of figure here is effectively what was paid by the taxpayer.
It's gone very quiet, Colin.
Sorry about that. So basically, what I'm saying is that the customers paid 43,700, and the taxpayer, for every pound that the customer paid last year, the taxpayer paid £1 as well. So,
right, that's very interesting.
And one of the underlying reasons why it's closed, mothballed rather. I'll rephrase that.
Yeah.
Basically, it's mothballed because if you go into Costa Coffee, the taxpayer doesn't lean over your shoulder and say, "Oh, I'll pay for half of that."
Yeah. Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Colin, so you're going. You on the? Sorry, keep going down. Consolidated the community kitchen side of things. Most of that expenditure, I guess, was Sean's expenditure before he left.
Big staffing costs, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But no income whatsoever.
To be fair, it's not supposed to generate income. I mean, in theory, you might see in there any grants that were applied for any projects. But with the pandemic closing the Leyson Centre, we weren't able to use the community kitchen anyway.
Because I've passed on potential commercial interests who might want to hire it for their own things. I don't know whether we're progressing that at all.
We've said yes, we're interested, but I haven't heard anything else from them. I don't know whether Martin's heard anything from the people who were interested, but we've said yes. So
yeah, and I pass that on. So I will follow that up with certainly the one I know about when I next see them.
What we'd like to see, of course, is people using that community kitchen for the purpose it's intended, which is helping teach people to cook.
Exactly. And I think one of the ones I was looking at was exactly that. Although I think they were acting in a commercial sense in that respect, but that's fine.
Well, to be honest, if they don't charge too much for training, for teaching other people how to cook, something that's reasonable, say just cost of materials or something like that, and if they could then apply to the town council for a grant if they had to cover some of their own costs on top of that. That would be fantastic to see people using that facility to teach people how to cook.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, if you think about it, I appreciate Councillor Brown's not on the call, but we've had the issue in terms of he suggested that we try and get some advisors in to help people try and save energy. And what they can do about insulation, etc., because of the cost of living. There's an argument that actually using the community kitchen to show people how to use leftovers, how to cook tasty meals from cheaper alternatives, rather than because so many people rely on ready meals or on takeaways, which is so much more expensive. Perhaps there's an argument that we should be looking around to try and find some funding for that sort of work.
Yeah, I agree totally. Martin, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so just one point there. Strictly speaking, there is some income for the community kitchen because the befriending group still use it every Wednesday. But that I've for these figures, I've used basically Sean's project for income.
Okay.
So community kitchen income for the befriending group is just going into normal lettings.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
they pay £50 a week for the use of the community kitchen on an ongoing basis.
So it's in that figure up there.
Councillor Smith.
Yes, Colin, yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the community kitchen. It's a resource, perhaps. Have we investigated whether West Suffolk College or adult community colleges would be interested in using the facility to teach cooking skills? Or I know sometimes they do like parenting skills and things, don't they? Or they used to. I don't know if they do it anymore. That might involve cooking. Don't know if anyone knows anything about that.
I haven't heard anything from West Suffolk. They certainly do advertise stuff over in Bury, so I don't know.
Yeah, I just wonder whether perhaps at the next education group on One Haverhill I might bring it up, although we haven't met for ages.
Okay, yeah.
But it's something that we could have some classes sort of in Haverhill rather than have to go outside the area.
I agree totally. It's a great facility which Colin helped literally install.
Yeah.
And we're not using it.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair. I should just say that whilst I absolutely agree with your sentiments that it's not being used anywhere near to its full capacity, it wouldn't be fair to say we don't use it at all.
No.
Karen uses it, and as we've heard the befriending group use it. I wonder whether, Martin, I think it might be, if you don't mind, can we actually just shift the income from the Leyson Centre lettings into community kitchen, if that's what the befriending scheme are doing? I don't know whether there's any others we might do, just to give a fairer sort of view of that. But we use the building ourselves. Karen uses it regularly to help people learn cooking skills. But of course, we don't charge ourselves for the use of the community kitchen.
No, I appreciate that, Colin. It's just I think it's a good idea if we are you know, if someone is actually booking the kitchen, we ought to have, and paying, then we ought to have that income in that cell.
There's potentially, I'm not exactly sure, it's a bit of finger in the air, but it's potentially up to a couple of £1,000 worth of income from the befriending group, depending on when they started back. I can't remember. But yes, I can get that moved for the year end.
Okay.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Martin.
Then there's the bank reconciliation, and again, thank you to Councillor Burns for having confirmed that. A bit on debtors and creditors. If there's any commentary on that you want to give, Martin?
Yeah, again, there's nothing to be concerned about. They're all our regulars who just need a little nudge. There is one over 90-day debt, which actually no, I beg your pardon. That's the town council one. So there are no over 90-day debts on the community trust. We just need to give them a little nudge, and as I said earlier, I'm hopeful to hoping to use the new administrator Lisa to help me do that. She's been a great help so far, and I'm sure she can help with this as well.
Yeah, right. Hey, there's not a great deal of money in terms of schemes.
The town council is grateful for the community trust patience in us settling our bills.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, appreciate that, Martin. You've done a lot of work on that as usual. Thank you for that, and obviously, Colin. That's fine. That's what the summary.
I think that's the summary you've already mentioned.
Right. Up there. Any other questions on the IFO report at all from anybody? One thing it might be worthwhile including, well, if it's possible without getting involved in too much work, is, as we only have a meeting every 2 or 3 months, is whether we ought to have a status of the CCLA account.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. CCLA, yeah.
I don't remember when I last had one through from them, to be perfectly honest.
No, you sent me one ages ago, I know, but yeah, I mean,
it probably was just last month.
We should be due one anytime soon, I think.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, the economic climate, you know, it goes up and down like yo-yo anyway. But right,
no, that's a fair comment. Yes.
Yeah. So unless there's anything else, item 8 then, date of next meeting, which is Tuesday, 19th July, unless it changes to maybe a week later or something, or whatever. You know. But Martin seems to think that'd be fine. For June's figures, I mean.
Yeah, I think so. I think I can.
Okay.
I think I can deal with that.
Right. Thank you very much. And closing the meeting at 19:43. I'd like to stop recording, please.
Just to mention that unless you're on the planning committee, this will be your last opportunity to see Alicia in a working party meeting. We'll see her if she puts her camera on, but otherwise. And
well, we have got the. I presume everyone's invited to.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
21st of this month.
I'll see you there. I'll see you there, Lisa. Alicia, sorry.
Thank you, Alicia, as usual.